AI scene detection, noise reduction, Bluetooth streaming, real world translation. Wait, what? And tinnitus relief. All of this in an over the counter hearing aid. Alright, that sounds ambitious enough that it probably deserves a closer look to see if all of these claims are true. So, that's exactly what we're going to do today. And yes, you're coming with me. So, most people think that over-the-counter hearing aids are either basic amplifiers or consumer earbuds pretending to be medical technology. In today's video, I'll show you what Elehear Delight actually does well, where I think it pushes the category forwards, and where I think it still falls a little bit short. And by the end, you'll know exactly whether this is a smart buy for you or one that you should skip. Now, for context, I run one of the largest independent hearing clinics in the UK, and I've immersed myself in the new world of over-the-counter hearing aids too. In this recent poll that I put out there on YouTube, I asked you, my faithful YouTube audience, if you've ever tried over-the-counter hearing aids. Now, I received this absolutely fascinating feedback, and I'm now keen on expanding this poll to any of you watching this video today. So, let me know in the comments if you've ever tried over-the-counter hearing aids, and if so, which you've tried and how you got along. Whilst the feedback in this poll doesn't entirely seem positive towards over-the-counter hearing aids, I think that Elehear have done a ton of work to try and improve upon users' poor previous experiences. And I think that you're going to want to hear about this. So for those of you that are keen on over-the-counter hearing aids, you'll be interested to learn that I've spent a fair amount of time playing with this new technology. And I've identified 5 truths that I think will matter to all of you watching today. All of which will help you to decide whether the Delight OTC hearing aid makes sense for you or not. So truth number 1 is that they are not CIC hearing aids, which in my opinion is a great thing, but it does come at a small cost. Why am I telling you this? Well, Elehear was previously referring to their new technology as a CIC device, which stands for completely in canal. But in reality, most hearing care professionals, in fact, all hearing care professionals, would classify this as an ITC earbud style device rather than a true CIC. And guess what? Come here. It's one of its biggest strengths. Over the last few years, whilst traditional hearing aid manufacturers have maintained their CIC models, they've also ventured into the ITE category, hiding their hearing aids in plain sight, making them look like a cool set of earbuds. And this comes with some pretty strong benefits. So firstly, they'll be more comfortable, or they can be more comfortable. Secondly, there is way more space for components, which can result, or does result in this case, in more features such as artificial intelligence, bigger batteries, therefore longer duration of life, dual microphone technology, and Bluetooth connectivity as well. And then finally, and most importantly, the sound quality is better, especially in noise, which is the holy grail for anybody wearing hearing aids with hearing loss. So in this case, whilst they're not true CICs, when I took them out of the box, I'm not joking when I say that I was genuinely blown away by how compact both the earbuds and the charging case were. And, you'll love this, they look nothing like hearing aids. So in 2026, does this really matter? Well, global data on hearing aid uptake shows the average age of people wearing hearing aids for the first time is coming down, which is music to my ears. And apparently that same cohort are now not waiting quite as long from the day they suspect they have hearing loss to doing something about it. But I say all of this, in reality, the stigma around hearing loss is still there, so aesthetics matters. As this design looks like a standard set of wireless headphones, it screams modern consumer technology rather than a hearing aid. And I imagine this is exactly why Elehear have followed recent trends and made these matted and pastel coloured, akin to the likes of the Google Pixel Buds Pro and the Samsung Galaxy Buds 2 Pro earbuds. It's a mouthful. Does this mushroom colour really appeal to me? Personally, not really. I think Elehear would benefit from releasing a few alternatives, but no doubt they'll have done their research on what most consumers are after, and this style wins. So if you're someone that's uncomfortable with the thought of wearing a behind-the-ear hearing aid, or perhaps you wear glasses and you don't feel there's enough space behind your ears for wearing hearing aids too, or if you simply want something that looks like consumer technology, i.e. earbuds, rather than a medical device, This design makes perfect sense. Now, I did mention that there was a cost to this size: battery life. One challenge that I've had with most over-the-counter hearing aids, including some from big names in consumer technology, is that they've been designed for situational use rather than to be used as a full-time hearing aid. Now, the skeptic in me thinks this is simply because they weren't able to produce a device that can perform as a hearing aid that will last for a full day. Well, Elehear tell me that they've purposely chosen to go down this path, and whilst the battery life does depend a lot on how much you stream, you can still push these things to last for most of the day. When solely in hearing aid mode, you'll get around 13.5 hours of use, which is reduced to about 10 hours if you throw in a mix of streaming and calls. However, if you solely use them for streaming, the life will come down to around 5 hours. Are these numbers ideal? No, they're not giving the same battery life as a traditional set of hearing aids. However, they are better than most over-the-counter hearing aids out there. And on top of that, the case itself also provides 2 extra days of charge if you want to charge on the go. The second important truth that I need to share with you today is that I think this is one of the most serious OTC hearing aid attempts at improving speech in noise. And at the end of the day, this is why you're all here, isn't it? For better hearing, especially in background noise. So when you're in a group, restaurant, or crowded listening situation. Elehear's processing platform is called VocClear 2.0, and unlike some of the more vague AI-powered claims in the over-the-counter hearing aid space, this one definitely has some real pedigree. How do I know? Well, Elehear have built on their previous technology, the Beyond Pro platform, which we've already seen independently evaluated, and it achieved an A sound grade in the Hearer Advisor lab. Over and above other OTC hearing aid manufacturers, Elehear are utilising a deep neural network-based processing, specifically aimed at improving speech understanding in noisy environments. At the time of its CES 2026 debut, this was one of the first OTC hearing aids publicly described as using DNN processing for speech understanding in noise. Now, in practical terms, so from your point of view, that means the likes of continuous environmental monitoring, adaptive noise control, speech prioritization, and reduced feedback and distortion, with Elehear sharing some staggering numbers promising up to 16 decibels of stable noise reduction with 24 decibels peak attenuation. And you know what? I cannot wait to share the lab results with you later on in today's video. In fact, what am I waiting for? This seems like the perfect place to share this information. So here are 2 different sound files. Firstly, one with no hearing aid, but a simulated hearing loss. And then secondly, one with the Elehear Delight.
Did you hear the news last night?
No, I must have missed it.
Looks like we're finally getting a break. I mean, it's supposed to be sunny all weekend.
Oh yeah? Perfect timing. Maybe I can finally get out there and do some yard work.
Yard work. My mind went to breaking out the grill.
Well, that too. The lawn isn't going to cut itself, and the bushes have gotten a little crazy.
I guess that's true. I mean, I've been putting off staining the deck, but this year, maybe the year.
Trees, bushes, deck. We'll just have to dream about the grill and the huge ice cream cooler.
Did you hear the news last night?
No, I must have missed it.
Looks like we're finally getting a break. I mean, it's supposed to be sunny all weekend.
Oh yeah? Perfect timing. Maybe I can finally get out there and do some yard work.
Yard work. My mind went to breaking out the grill.
Well, that too. The lawn isn't going to cut itself, and the bushes have gotten a little crazy.
I guess that's true. I mean, I've been putting off staining the deck, but this year, maybe the year.
Trees, bushes, deck. We'll just have to dream about the grill and the huge ice cream cooler.
So what do you think? Sounds pretty good to me. Now, Elehear are not promising perfection. I don't think any hearing aid manufacturer is or should. But they are claiming to be better in noise than any of their competitors. The third truth that I feel it's worth sharing with you today is that these things are designed for comfort. Now, based on my experience, discomfort is one of the fastest ways that hearing aids get left behind in a drawer. Now, Delight isn't custom molded like you would get with a traditional set of hearing aids, and it shouldn't be. That would defeat the entire purpose of over-the-counter hearing aids. However, Elehear do put you in the driver's seat and have provided a few options for you to customize the fit to suit both the shape and size of your ear canal and match your hearing loss too. with the box including multiple soft silicone tip sizes and styles. So that's both vented and non-vented options. Plus, there are 2 variations of earwings to improve the retention too. And the end result, they feel light and comfortable to wear. And if you're planning on wearing them for a full day, it's worth experimenting with all options just to find the most suitable option for you. Truth number 4 is that Elehear have thought about durability more than a lot of the other OTC hearing aid manufacturers out there. Now, this tech has been certified with an IP67 rating, meaning that they're dust tight and can withstand temporary immersion in water. And from a technical point of view, that means that they can technically, I said technically a lot during this sentence, they can withstand being submerged in up to a metre of water for around 30 minutes without developing any issues. This is the same high-level water resistance standard that you'll see on a lot of modern consumer electronics like smartphones and watches. And even, this is the extent of it, some industrial equipment too. Now, I have to say that one of the biggest issues that I come across in my clinic every day with any in-ear hearing aid is reliability. After all, if you think about it, these things live in a miserable, hostile, waxy environment, day in, day out, and there is a lot going against them. So this rating, coupled with the fact that they're an ITC hearing aid rather than a CIC, hopefully means that they'll stay in your ears for a lot longer and away from the repair lab. Truth number 5, and my final truth today, is that the app and Elehear ecosystem is ambitious, but in my opinion, maybe a little bit too ambitious, and I don't know if Elehear have gone a little bit too far. The Elehear app is essential for these hearing aids to work, and if you don't use a smartphone, then this product is not for you. And frankly, this is true of all over-the-counter hearing aids. Now, having played as much as I can with these hearing aids, I can tell you now the initial pairing process is seamless. In fact, it's one of the easiest that I've come across with all of my experience with over-the-counter hearing aids. And the app beautifully guides you with clear instructions on optimal insertion, controls, and the setup process. But then, the downside is this is where I feel they get a little bit lost, let's say. The home screen contains the date, translation features, serene tinnitus programs, environmental noise monitor, and remote sound capture, which I think are all nice to have, apart from the date maybe, but they'll soon lose their novelty, and they'd be better tucked away somewhere else in the app rather than being the first thing you see every time you open it up. Then when you head into the settings tab, this is essentially the remote control, displaying battery life, various optimized programs, the ability to create your own programs, plus you can adjust the volume, tone, and noise attenuation. And in my opinion, similarly to every other hearing aid manufacturer out there, every other traditional hearing aid manufacturer out there, this menu, this page, and these features, they should be the home page. That's the first thing you want to see when you open the app. You want the ability to be able to adjust and control the settings on your hearing aids, not see the date. Now, I am delighted to report that Elehear have listened to some of my previous feedback. I'm not saying it's all on me, but I'd like to take a little bit of responsibility here. And they've introduced a hearing test. Well, they've kind of introduced a hearing test. So it's important for you to understand that this hearing test, it doesn't automatically adjust the settings on these hearing aids. And I'm not entirely sure why this approach has been taken, as I think there would be value in doing so, as you can with other OTC hearing aids out there. However, instead, Elehear have opted for 3 different options based on the results of your hearing test. The first option is that you can manually adjust them based on what sounds right for you. Secondly, you can use their presets, and then thirdly, you can submit your hearing test results for remote audiologist programming, which Elehear tells me is typically completed within around 24 hours of submission. So that's pretty good. Now, I've been trying to wrap my brains on why they'll have gone down this path instead, and I guess that the benefit is this hybrid approach keeps things simple for first-time users, whilst still offering support or professional support when it's needed. So, whilst this app is a little bit less busy than their previous version, some of the features seem to be duplicated and there's a lot going on all at once. And in my opinion, less is more and a lot could be done to simplify it. And I wonder, just a little bit, if Elehear are so determined to be the king of OTC hearing aids that they're almost trying to do too much in this app. What do you reckon? I'd love your opinion. Which of these features are important to you and which do you think you could live without? drop me a note in the comments beneath today's video. Now, I promised you 5 truths because it has such a nice ring to it, but whilst I'm here, I should share the truth about the price with you too, which is that it's low. Delight's regular pricing is positioned around $369, which puts it roughly $100 away from Apple AirPods Pro, whilst offering an entirely different and medically relevant value proposition. And there is no question that the price is significantly lower compared to the $1,000 plus high-end OTC tech. I'll add a link in the description to today's video if you're keen on doing a trial of this technology. And it's worth knowing that there is a money-back guarantee if they don't do as you'd hope. But before you go anywhere, you have to check out this video covering the best hearing aids of this year.